Today we have with us Alex Khan, a very successful entrepreneur from Germany. So we will discuss about few tips and tricks that he went through his journey until he became what he is today. Alex, you have your own company. As you mentioned through our discussion before the podcast, you have already 10 people, right?
Yeah.
So how's it being a young entrepreneur in Germany?
Well, I would describe it as the last line of defense in the company. If something goes wrong, I have to fix it, right? But the good thing is I'm doing it for a couple of years now, so we have some structures. People know what they should do, and it's not that everything I have to take a look at. So it's getting more and more relaxed. But it's been quite a road.
Okay, tell me a bit. First of all, tell me a bit who's Alex, because always people want to know more about this human being, Alex Khan. So who's Alex? And then I'll ask more questions. So let's start with that one. Who's Alex?
Well, I would say a person who was by luck starting with social media. Actually, I should maybe go one step back. I mean, I believe the reason who I am today is based, at least that's what I believe and tell myself all the time. It's based on a little story with my dad. When I was like 6 years old, he came to me and said, like, sit down, I have to talk to you. Okay. And you think like, when your dad, he's big, tall, right? Think like, what did I do wrong? So then he said, well, listen, when you came to this world, everybody was smiling and you were crying. Live your life that when you leave this earth again, everybody is sad, but you're the one who smiles. Which was a lot for a 6-year-old, right?
Wow, 6 years old.
Yeah. And I asked my dad, so how do I do it? And he said, just make people happy. They will return the favor. And that was how I actually became an entrepreneur at 16 years. So 10 years later, I started my first website, and it was called Funniest.de. And it was with jokes because I want to make people happy. And that's how I discovered actually it works. You can sell CDs with jokes and so on, and CDs, and you can send them out. And that was my first business. I mean, I made like 10 euro per month or something like that. I sold like one, right? I felt so entrepreneurial about it. Okay. So that was the beginning of my journey. And I believe I sticked with it with a couple of good things and bad things that happened. And I just love what I do. I mean, yeah. Okay. So a person who loves what he does.
Do you believe in this saying, limit is the sky, and you can do whatever you want, and pursue whatever comes in your head? I mean, whatever you want, you can achieve. I mean, this generic phrases.
It goes a bit in the direction, just follow your passion and money will follow. We know this. I'm not a big fan of it for a couple of reasons. Okay. First of all, just because it's my passion, it doesn't mean that I'm necessarily good at it. Take any TV show like X Got Talent, and right? These people are very passionate about singing, but if you can't sing, what can you do, right? So I believe a better question would be what I'm interested in and where am I good at? Because I believe there's a bit confusion in the market that you should just follow your passion and everything else will happen like you want, which is also quite me-centered. And we're living in a mediocracy, means like the output that you give to the world is measured kind of how much input you get in terms of money and so on. So I believe you should really think about what can I do good and do this more. And then I believe you will also develop a passion around it because people like to be good at something and go in this direction.
Okay, I would say it in a different way. Just find your blueprint, because this is and I agree with you. However, a lot of people will be disagreeing, but it's fine. That's the beauty of life, that we don't agree in everything. Tell me something. Did you have any failures in this journey?
Oh, 100%.
Do you want to share a few?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the very first failure probably was in 2005, I co-founded one of the first social networks in Germany. I thought like it's going to be the next big thing. And then 2 years later, a big company came to Germany. You might have heard of, it's called Facebook. And it showed that they were much better. So that was the first big failure. So the social network were out of business because everyone went to Facebook. And I asked myself, what can I learn from it? And I learned like attention.
Do you name it failure today?
No, I think it's not a failure. It's one way that didn't work.
Okay.
Right? That's the thing. You have to ask yourself when there is a failure or something like you want to learn from it, what do you learn from it? Mm-hmm. And I asked myself, what can Facebook do? And it was great about learning how communication works, how social networks work, how viral effects work. And I believe Mark Zuckerberg at that time was the best in showing communication.
Yeah.
So we love to communicate, and Facebook was better in
Isn't the slogan
this.
connecting people?
Yes, it is. And they're really good at it. And we have that human need in communicating with each other. So that's interesting.
Okay, so basically you had in a way failure, as you mentioned, but you didn't see it as a failure. You just tried to see what was the lesson learned. And then what was your next step after that thing, after that failure?
Well, we pivoted more in the B2B direction.
Okay.
So it was a lifestyle platform before, and then it became a business platform. So we were working with models and makeup artists and agencies, and so I got to know one of our most popular newspapers, and I started working with them. So one thing led to the other.
Are you still in that business?
Well, it's still social media. I don't work with the newspaper anymore, but now it became our own agency. But at the beginning, it worked to something else. I mean, I have another example. I mean, I started one of the first mobile marketplaces, and a lot of mobile marketplaces came afterwards. We couldn't cope with it. We had to sell it. But then 1 year later, they sent me an email because Periscope came out. Periscope was the first live streaming service.
Oh, really? Okay.
And it was acquired by Twitter.
Twitter, yeah.
And actually, someone sent me an email. See, this is for 100 million, by the way. This is how you sell an app, because I didn't get 100 million for my app, right? So I said, like, okay, I take a look at it. And I started with it, and I was the first German who actually got the 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 followers, because I was there from day one.
Okay, great.
So because Trend.you was not a success, I took a look at Periscope, and Periscope became a success and was the beginning of my brand and everything. So you never know. You never can connect the dots beforehand. You can just do it
afterwards. Okay, great. What would you advise youngsters that are listening to this podcast in the sense of being an entrepreneur?
I believe, first of all, to have a serious, honest conversation with the 3 to 5 people they trust the most. And ask them, well, listen, this is my plan. What do you think is my skill set? But really have it honest. Slap me in the face. I want to know. Of course, in a mental way, right? Tell me the truth. What is the things that you believe that I can do best? And write that down. Because I believe, especially at the beginning, self-awareness is one thing that is missing.
Wow, I think it's the most... I think it's the most important thing that, unfortunately, we're not taught to work on our self-awareness. I don't know if you agree, from a small age. Maybe in Germany you do it like a bit more structural, but in what I know, for example, in this part of the world, Middle East, we are not so much into this self-awareness story.
I believe everywhere in the world it's hard. I mean, I talked to a very successful entrepreneur a couple of years ago, and he said, you know, successful people from not successful people are divided by 4 things. The first one is most people don't have a vision.
Obviously.
They don't have like something bigger than themselves, which they want to follow. The second thing is most people who have a vision are not able to make a plan and ask themselves, can I do it or can't I do it? Or what do I need to do it? The third thing is most people don't make a decision. They think, they plan, they rethink, and so on. They don't make the decision, I'm going all in, I'm going to do it. And the fourth and last thing is, most people don't execute. They make plans, they make decisions, but they don't execute. So I believe the faster you can go through those 4 steps, have a vision, make some plans, make a decision, and execute, the better it is. If it's a failure or not, you don't know at the beginning, but go for it and go all in.
But a question that I always ask people is there any overnight success in reality? I mean, we hear this sayings, overnight success. Do you know anyone that was overnight success?
Well, if anyone who's listening to the podcast have ever heard about someone and knows him, please send us an email or contact me. I would love and get to know that person, because I know nobody. I mean, there is that saying, it took me 20 years to become an overnight success, right? And it's the truth. It's a reputation that you build. It's a skill set that you build. There is no basketball player who grow up and he's the best basketball player. There is no athlete in the world. Everything is predicated on hard work. And that's the thing also for us. I mean, the problem is that most people that you see and that you admire, you just see them when they are already popular and already successful. But you don't see the long road. It would be so interesting to see Jeff Bezos 15 years ago, how he built Amazon, like 24/7, or Mark Zuckerberg in his dorm room and so on. It takes time. I believe most people, especially when they're young, they have no patience. They think it's going to happen overnight, in 1 week, in 1 month. I believe we undervalue what we can do in 5 years, and we overvalue what we can do in 1 day, 1 week, 1 month.
True. So just to recap whatever we said, we need a vision.
Absolutely.
We need a plan. We have to be decisive and then execute.
100%.
Could I put a fifth one? Be consistent.
Be consistent, and maybe even a 6 month, be a bit lucky. Sometimes it's luck. It's being at the right moment at the right place.
But
right?
you know what is the definition of luck, right?
With chance, right? Hitting when opportunity means chance or something like that.
Equilibrium between the opportunity and the preparation. So
Absolutely.
the opportunity is given, but if you're not prepared and ready, you won't take it.
100%.
Alex, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for being with us on our podcast, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me.
Hope I'll see you again next year in Cyprus with us.
I would love to.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.